Alright, so super big support build. Let's show everything that I can do. We are fresh off of a long rest, so let's go ahead and give everyone Bardic Inspiration. That is the first thing that we're going to do after a long rest. Go ahead and do that real quick. Bardic Inspiration. Bardic Inspiration. And of course, these Bardic Inspirations refresh off of a short rest. Super good, so you can pretty much spam it all you want. Now let's give everyone more movement speed. Does not cost a spell slot. Now let's give everyone freedom of movement, which means basically they can't be stunned. Super good here. It does cost a spell slot, but it doesn't matter. We only use our spell slots for healing anyway. Slash counter spell if we need to. So boom. Now everyone has freedom of movement. Super good there. Okay. Let's cast light on ourselves just in case our teammates can't see anything. Very good. Let's go ahead and speak with animals because we are the charisma-based character as well. All right. Let's go and warding bond to our carry, which is currently Astarion, the vampire ascendant. All right. Okay, and now it's time to fight. Now, let's say we were to fight something. Let's say I was to fight something. Let's go in turn-based mode. What I would do in a fight is I would cast Mass Healing Word. All right, let's go and do that. And now everyone is not only blessed, but they also have Blade Ward, which gives them resistance to physical damage pretty much, off of one Mass Healing Word. Crazy. But that was our bonus action. And for our action, I'm going to go ahead and cast Crusader Mantle, which is our concentration spell. And this means we now have an aura, which gives our teammates 1 to 4 radiant damage, or the weapon attacks. And then I have 2 weapon attackers on my team, and that's super good for them. All right, now let's go ahead and end this turn, because we're not done yet. We're not done yet. Okay. For turn number 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and activate Falar Alluve Melody, Shriek. So now, we now have an aura, which makes, on top of Crusader Mantle, now our teammates' weapon attacks do an additional 1 to 4 psychic damage. Boom. Crazy. So now we have extra radiant and extra psychic damage. And let's go ahead and end the turn off with Sanctuary, which for some reason I don't have, but if I had it, that's what I'd be casting on myself. So just know that, okay? Oh, there it is. Okay, boom. Alright, so in 2 turns, we were able to bless our teammates. Oh, sorry. After a long rest, we were able to give our teammates more movement speed. We were able to give them freedom of movement, which basically means they can't be stunned and shit like that, and they can't be slowed down. We were able to bless them. We were able to give them Blade Ward. We were able to give them more damage in their attacks with Crusader's Mantle. And Shriek, we were able to warding bond our carry, making them take less damage. We were able to heal them. Okay. I mean, where does this stop? Where does this stop? And if anyone goes down, I can revive them. We were able to give them Bardic Inspiration, giving them a 1d10 bonus to any check in the game. We can cast Light. We can Lesser Restoration them. We can Greater Restoration them, curing them from charms and whatnot. Okay. We have Mobility with Misty Step and Dimension Door. We can give anyone a fly, which doesn't really matter because if you're a partial illithid, which you should be doing, you can give you'd be able to fly on default. But just in case someone needs to fly, like on an NPC, we can give them that too. And of course, we become untargetable with Sanctuary. All right. What else do we got? We got Featherfall. We got Guidance. We have Knock, just in case our sleight of hand user cannot open some kind of door, and there are some doors in the game that lockpicking are impossible. We have Enhanced Ability, giving someone an advantage on any type of ability checks. We have Feigned Death to protect these really dumb AI NPCs like Jaheira or the Night Song. We can give someone Invisibility. We can give our teammates advantage on saving throws against being charmed and frightened. And we have Friends because this is not only our utility support character with all the heals and buffs and debuffs, but this is also the character that we use to socially interact with the game. And because it's a bard with high charisma, it can pass any and every single social check and trust me, there are a lot of fights that can save you a lot of time if you have a high charisma based bard in this game. And there you go, y'all. The new and improved ultimate support build for Baldur's Gate 3. What's going on with you guys? AoE back at you again with another Baldur's Gate 3 video build guide, and this time I'm going to show you guys my updated version of the ultimate support build that I posted a couple weeks ago. And the reason why I'm posting an update on it is because there are a couple of items and a couple of spell choices that I didn't have last time that I want to make sure I cover this time. Okay, and those changes really make this build the actual ultimate support build in Baldur's Gate 3. So we're gonna do it like normal. I'm gonna show you the levels, I'm gonna show you the spells, I'm gonna show you the gear, and some alternative choices for the leveling process, and there we go. But trust me, it is 1000% easier to have a character like this in your party that could pretty much do anything except deal damage. But if you're running 3 damage dealers like I am, having this character to make them even stronger and to make their lives a lot easier really changes the way you play the game. It makes it so much easier. So anyway, without further ado, I present to y'all again the new and improved ultimate support build. Alright, so at level 1, with this super duper good support build, we are starting off with level 1 Cleric. Level 1 Life Cleric to be exact, because they come with proficiency in heavy armor and shields, which is what we're going to mainly be using for our character, because this is not only a super good support character, it is a very tanky character, and this will be your tank as you play throughout the game. Alright, so level 1 Cleric, level 1 Life Cleric. For the cantrips, we want to take Thaumaturgy for those advantage on the intimidation and performance checks. Like I said, this is our charisma based character, so we want to make sure we have advantage on those charisma based social part of the game, right? And of course, the best cantrip, or one of the best cantrips in the game, Guidance. This gives us a 1d4 bonus to any and all ability checks in the game, and you will be making so many ability checks that this is pretty much a staple of the build. And for the other one, you can choose whatever you want. I would choose Light, just in case you have some of those characters that do not have dark vision. This will help them a lot during fights, especially in Act 2, where it's pretty much all darkness, right? So this is the cantrips. Again, Life Domain, and the reason why we're going Life Domain, another reason why, is because it does come with Bless, okay, but more importantly, it comes with Disciple of Life, which pretty much makes our heals stronger than they already are. It adds a nice flat number on top of our heals, which is pretty nice to have. As far as the ability scores go, this is our charisma based character, so we want to make our charisma 16, our constitution 16 as well, because again, this is our tank, and we want to make sure we want to pass our concentration checks. So we need to have our constitution high. And we are not proficient in constitution saving throws, so we got to make sure it's at least 16, all right? And of course, I like to have my dexterity at 14 for all my characters because it adds to our initiative rolls. And having this character go before the enemy characters is pretty important, just so you can heal off your characters or give them buffs or do whatever you want or add some utility to the battlefield, right? And as far as the fourth stat, just have wisdom because you want to pass those perception and survival checks. As far as the skills, I just chose, persuasion and medicine. Once we turn into a bard, we can choose more abilities anyway, but this here is fine. Alright, so at level 2, before I mention what we do at level 2, I want to stress that level 1 Cleric, you are allowed to prepare 1 spell, I believe, once you multi-class into a Bard. And that 1 spell you want to make sure you prepare as a level 1 Cleric is Sanctuary. That is all you'll need as the level 1 Cleric, because Sanctuary is you can cast as a bonus action and makes you pretty much untargetable. On top of that, being a tank, it makes this character pretty invincible, okay? So I just want to mention that first. But at level 2, we are multi-classing immediately, and we are staying as a bard throughout the whole way, because bards just so good at doing almost everything in the game, except for doing damage, which they can do damage, by the way, but this is not that type of build. So this build is literally made to do everything in the game except deal damage, which in my opinion makes it the most important character in the party, alright? And if you experience having one of these characters in your party, you'd know what I was talking about. But like I said, Level 2, we are multi-classing into a level 1 bard, and the cantrips that we're going to choose is Vicious Mockery, which is going to be your main damage ability, alright, that you're going to be using throughout the whole game, pretty much. If you want to deal damage, you're going to be using Vicious Mockery. And it also has a nice secondary effect, which if it hits, it gives disadvantage on the enemy's next attack roll, which is kind of nice, most of the time. And as far as the second cantrip goes, you're going to choose Friends, obviously, so we can have advantage on all our charisma checks on any non-hostile creature. And this character is the social butterfly, so you'll be making a lot of charisma checks. So this is nice to have. And as far as the spells, so the reason why we didn't take any healing spells with our cleric is because those healing spells will scale off of wisdom. And because we're pretty much almost dumping wisdom, if we pick healing spells as a bard, then that means our healing spells will scale off of being a bard. So you see how it says you already know the spell? It's because we're a cleric, but we want to make sure we pick it up as a bard so they scale with our charisma. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we pick Healing Word and Cure Wounds, because this is our healer character as well, alongside being our support character. And as far as the other spells that I chose, Longstrider you definitely want to have in your inventory or in your spell list, because this is a free 3 meter movement speed to every single one of your characters, and it does not cost a spell slot. I repeat, it does not cost a spell slot because it is a ritual spell, and we will be taking a bunch of ritual spells with this build because it just provides so much utility, like I said. Okay, so Longstrider. And as far as this fourth spell that you can choose whatever. I like choosing Speak with Animals because there are a lot of moments in the game where you do have to speak with animals, especially in Act 1. Okay, and again, being we're a high charisma based character, speaking with animals is very useful, and sometimes you could even save those animals from dying. Okay, starting instrument, if you're not going hand drum, you're fucking up, just like I always say. And as far as because we're a bard, we get to pick another skill here, and we are already efficient in Persuasion. Now we're gonna pick Deception, and eventually we can pick all of these, but for now, Persuasion and Deception will carry you throughout the early game. At level 3, we're going to be a level 2 bard, and we get Jack of all trades, which adds half of our proficiency bonus in something we are not proficient in to any ability check, which is really nice. Again, this makes this character really the Jack of all trades, okay? But more importantly, we get Song of Rest. This is an extra short rest, so in Baldur's Gate 3, you get 2 short rests on default. With having a bard in your party, you get 3, and trust me, that's really, really nice to have sometimes, man. Especially in Tactician, where taking a long rest takes 80 frickin' camp supplies. This will save you a lot of those camp supplies having a nice long rest, okay? As far as the other spells that I chose, again, I'm just choosing another ritual spell here because it is nice to have. But you can also choose Thunder Wave, which is pushing enemies in Baldur's Gate 3 is really, really OP. So you can choose that if you want. But for me, I didn't really need help in pushing enemies. I just chose the ritual spells just because Featherfall, there are some times where you're gonna have to jump off cliffs to make your life a lot easier. And if you have Featherfall, that means you possibly won't take any damage or even won't die sometimes. At level 4, we're going to be a level 3 bard, and it will give you some choices here. So we're going to add skills that we're going to be proficient in. We're going to add intimidation, and we're going to add performance, okay? And we're also going to add perception, because there are a lot of perception checks in the game. And even though we have low wisdom, because we're a bard, we can take advantage of this and make sure we make those perception checks, okay? As far as the spells, the level 2 spell that you choose is really up to you, man. I didn't need any damage, so I didn't choose Cloud of Daggers. I didn't really need anything else. I didn't need Knock because I already had a Dexterity Sleight of Hand person in my party, okay? You can definitely use Hold Person if you want, but my party dealt so much damage that I would have rather ended the fight in 1 or 2 turns instead of holding a person. So for me, I just chose with a more supportive option, which is Lesser Restoration, which cures a creature from disease, poison, paralysis, or blindness. And if one of these effects happens to one of your other characters, it can really fuck up your turn orders. So for me, I just went with the most supportive option in Lesser Restoration. And of course, the subclass that we're going to choose as a bard is the College of Lore, because it comes with Cutting Words, which you can use a reaction to distract a creature and pretty much fuck up their, I believe it works on attack rolls, okay? And saving throws, if I'm not mistaken, making them re-roll it. College of Lore, as you'll see later in the video, comes with more spells that we could use, and we're going to take advantage of those spells from other classes, very much so. At level 5, we're going to be a level 4 bard, and we get an extra cantrip. The cantrip that I would recommend is Dancing Lights, not because of the dancing lights. Dancing lights, for some reason, it blocks off vents that spew out like poison. You could use dancing light, for example, in the hag lair. You could use dancing lights on the way to the hag on those vents, and it will block the poison. I don't know why it does that, but you can do that. So there you go. Some pro tips right there. As far as the other spell that I chose invisibility because this lets me save not using potions of invisibility throughout the game, and now I have it on my bard to give to any one of my teammates. But more importantly, the most important thing at level 4 is getting our feat. And what feat did I chose? It's simple. +2 charisma. Now that gives us a +1 to our healing with Disciple of Life, and because our healing spells scale off of charisma now, and it also gives us a +1 to our Vicious Mockery, which we should be using as our damage spell at this point in the game. Also, charisma scales off of our intimidation, persuasion, any social charisma checks. Charisma also does that, okay? Alright, level 6. We are level 5 bard, and we get Font of Inspiration. Now, we regain all of our bardic inspiration after a short rest. Normally it's after a long rest, but now it's off of a short rest, so feel free to spam your bardic inspirations as much as you can because they are really, really good. And now, not only that, we get improved bardic inspiration, so it went from a 1d6 to a 1d8 to any of our ability checks, alright? And of course, we unlock level 3 spells. And what level 3 spell would I recommend to you? It is none other than Feign Death. Now, the reason why I chose Feign Death is for 2 very important reasons that make the game a lot easier. There are some characters in the game that you want to keep alive because they can be an ally later in the game, or they can they're a vendor later in the game. That's really important. And the best way to keep these stupid ass AIs alive, because for some reason their coding is very bad, you want to Feign Death them. You want to Feign Death them, and you want to cast Sanctuary, and that will keep them alive because they can no longer be targeted. Yes, they can be hit by AoE spells, but that will likely not happen because you will be Feign Deathing them, in the beginning of the fight where they're like near the entrance or some shit, away from the fight, you know what I'm saying? So there you go, another pro tip. Feign Death plus Sanctuary keeps NPCs alive, and trust me, there are a lot of NPCs that you want to keep alive. Trust. Alright? At level 7, we're going to be a level 6 bard, and we get Counter Charm, which is something that you can use if you have an extra action, if you're not, focusing on Bless, if you're not focusing on Falar Alluve, if you have an extra action, which is unlikely because the fight will be over in less than 3 turns with the character and with the team comp that I have. But this is useful. If you have a turn to use it, then go ahead and use it, okay? And as far as the spell that I chose as a level 6 bard, Enhanced Ability was a spell that we didn't have yet, and this is really good for, you can use it on your charisma checks, you can use it on your sleight of hand checks, stealth checks, whatever you need. This will be very, very useful. But more importantly, the best thing that we get as a level 6 lore bard is Magical Secrets. So we can take 2 spells off of other classes, and the spells that I would recommend taking are Mass Healing Word. Now, we're obviously taking this for the healing effect, but more importantly, we are taking Mass Healing Word because it works very well in tandem with one of the rings that whenever you heal a creature, you bless them, alright? And because Mass Healing Word is an AoE heal, it's an AoE heal, but now it's an AoE bless. And with the gloves that we wear, it's also an AoE physical resistance. So Mass Healing Word turns into one of the best utility / healing spells in the game, which with the items that we're going to stack on top of it. You know what I'm saying? And for the secondary spell, it's really up to you. I chose Counterspell because now I had a sorcerer in my party, so now I have double counter spells. So any mage that I run into at any point in the game after this does not stand a chance against my team. So I chose Counterspell for the fighting aspect. But if you want, you could choose Misty Step. You saw me use Crusader's Mantle in the intro of the game. I would actually not recommend getting it here unless you want to respec, because we get Crusader's Mantle on an item later in the game. That's why I didn't choose it here. Alright? And I didn't choose Haste or Remove Curse, other good options, mainly because you can get those as a scroll. you know, so it'd be kind of a waste of a spell slot, you know what I'm saying? So for me, the best choices that I would recommend are Mass Healing Word for those super good buffs, like I mentioned, and Counterspell to make it so any mages that you run into don't stand a chance against her team. At level 8, we're going to be a level 7 bard, and the spell that I chose, the level 4 spell that I chose, is Freedom of Movement. Now, and this lasts until a long rest, okay? It does cost a high level spell slot, but because this character doesn't really care about high level spell slots, it's okay using our high level spell slots for Freedom of Movement. And you can use this on all your characters, not at this level, but eventually. And this can pretty much snap an ally out of any stun. Difficult terrain cannot slow them, and they cannot be magically paralyzed or restrained. Super good, all right? This and of course you can affect this on all your characters eventually. It takes like a couple levels, but you can. And this is just, along with Longstrider, having this makes your characters pretty much exactly free to do any type of movement in any type of battle, okay? At level 9, we're going to be a level 8 bard, and the other spell that I chose is actually not a 4th level spell, because at this point in the game, so my party, I know you're probably wondering, AoE, why aren't you picking spells like Polymorph or Hypnotic Pattern? Well, it's pretty simple. They're concentration spells. I'm concentrating on Bless, pretty much, because the way I play my campaigns is I want to do as much damage as possible in the first 3 turns. And these don't do damage, but Bless gives my teammates more damage. And trust me, 90% of the fights in the game with the party that I have ends the fights within 3 turns. That's including boss fights. And that's going to be, once I pump out some more of these build guides, that is going to be another video build that I'm going to make, or a video guide that I'm going to make, which is the best team comp to beat Baldur's Gate 3 with on Tactician. And I've beaten Baldur's Gate 3 on Tactician like at least 5 times now. So I know a thing or two about doing that, and trust me, you don't need control spells like Polymorph or Hypnotic Pattern. They are cooler options, but for the party that I'm running, which is full of damage dealers, I just need someone to buff them and to support them. So for me, I chose Knock because there are some locks in the game, some chests in the game that cannot be lockpicked, and Knock makes it easier to do that. There's also like 30 DC doors in the game too, and Knock helps with that as well. But for the feat, we are maxing out our Charisma, which gives us a +1 to our heals, even more, which gives us a +1 to that Vicious Mockery, which you will be casting sometimes. And of course, more importantly, it gives us the extra bonus to our social ability checks, to our charisma ability checks, which happens so many times throughout the game. There are so many fights that last like 30 minutes to an hour that if you pass your charisma checks, it'll take like 5 minutes. For example, the Yerger fight in the Ketheric Act 2 place, in the Mausoleum, in the Balthazar place. Instead of fighting Yerger, you can convince him to kill all of his allies and to kill himself. You get the XP, you get all the items. If you have a high charisma bard, that is possible. Alright, examples like that. At level 10, we're going to be a level 9 bard, and we get access to level 5 spells, and I chose Greater Restoration, which whenever you touch a creature, you negate any charm, petrification, stun, or curse. Alright, and trust me, there are many moments in the game where you'll be using Greater Restoration. Yes, it is a high level spell slot, but like I said, this character isn't really concerned with using high level spell slots because you're going to be using them for support spells like Greater Restoration. At level 11, we are a level 10 bard, and we get improved bardic inspiration. Now we get a 1d10 to all of our bardic inspirations, and we also get expertise in 2 more skills. This is a bug. We're actually expertise in deception and persuasion, so they should be +13. This is a bug, but you're going to choose intimidation and performance for the extra expertise. Now we're experts in all the charisma based checks. We're +13 in each and every single one of them, and we have advantage. So any social check in the game, we have advantage on all those checks, +13 on all those checks, so we will definitely be making those checks no matter what for charisma based things. As far as the cantrip, just choose whatever. I just chose minor illusion. It doesn't really matter. It's very minor, no pun intended. But for the last level 5 spell that we're going to choose, we're going to pick Mass Cure Wounds, because it's just another heal. It's nice to have. So now we have Healing Word, Cure Wounds, Mass Healing Word, and Mass Cure Wounds. So just in case your party needs it, you will have a heal for any bonus action or any action, a big heal for that matter. Okay, but the best thing as a level 10 bard is we get some more magical secrets and we get more spells that we can use. Now for me, I chose Misty Step, so now we have Misty Step and eventually Dimension Door. For the other spell that you want to choose, it's really up to you. Okay, I chose Death Ward because now, and I didn't show this in the beginning of the video, now you can cast Death Ward on your creatures and it will last until a long rest, I believe. Okay, so now your party is really hard to kill with this member on your team if you chose Death Ward. But if you wanted, you can choose Spiritual Weapon. Spiritual Weapon is very good. It's pretty much a pseudo tank, and you can like manipulate AI NPCs with Spiritual Weapon. This is also a good choice. Guardian of Faith is also a good choice for an extra summon. What's also good? Warden of Vitality is decent. Okay, but for me, I think that the thing that made the most sense was Death Ward because I can cast it outside of combat and it would last. You know what I'm saying? But really, it's up to you. The most important thing is Misty Step, though. And finally, level 12, level 11 bard. I chose Dimension Door. Again, if you want to be more fun or more cool, you can definitely choose stuff like Eye Bite, Hold Monster, Seeming. These are very good spells. It's just that for my party, I was already dealing enough damage, so I didn't need any control spells. All I needed was a character to pass all of the social checks, to have utility, to have buffs, to be mobile, and to have heals. And that's the character that I designed. But if you want to make a control support, by all means, go ahead and do that. But for me, I wanted my party to deal as much damage as possible to end the fight before controlling even matters. So I chose Dimension Door. So now we have Dimension Door and Misty Step for our mobility for this character. And now, let's go over the items that I chose to work well with the spells that I chose. Alright, ultimate support character items. Here we go. So now I'm going to go over each item. I'm going to go over alternatives, if there are any, and I'll go over briefly on like where to get the item, okay? So, let's go. First, let's show the weapon. Falar Alluve, okay? The reason why I chose this weapon is because it comes with Falar Alluve Melody, which you can either choose to sing, which is basically an extra bless on your characters, but the one that I would recommend is Shriek. So now you have an AoE extra damage aura, so if enemies get hit near you with a weapon attack, they take an extra 1 to 4 thunder damage, okay? And because I have weapon attackers on my team that do a lot of damage, this is a very good stacking effect. So for me, Falar Alluve is my weapon, and even though we are not proficient in it, it doesn't matter because we're never attacking with it anyway. And we can still cast spells, as you can see, even with Falar Alluve on. Alright? So there's that. First of all, let me go ahead and do that. Pop, pop, bing, bang, boom. Okay, very good. So Falar Alluve is the weapon, all right, and there is one other alternative, and that is Staff of the Arcane Blessing, which was my first video build guide for this build. But I feel like we get blessed anyway, and I didn't need too much blessed because my characters had very high stats in the first place. So for me, Falar Alluve just added that extra bit of damage, and of course, it has a nice +1 performance, which can come in handy sometimes. Okay. For the offhand, just choose the highest armor class shield. As you can see, this character is very tanky at 26 AC and at 23 con. Very, very tanky, very high HP, very hard to hit. Okay. So just choose whatever high AC shield you can find. I think you could find a 3 AC shield in the Moonrise Towers behind the vendor, Lantarv. Okay. You can either steal it or kill off everyone in Moonrise to get that shield. But the best in slot shield is obviously Viconia's Walking Fortress, which you can get this in Act 3 in the House of Grief when you finish off Shadowheart's personal story. Bing, bang, boom. Okay. Also, you can get the Falar Alluve in the Underdark. It's going to be stuck inside of a rock like the Excalibur sword, you have to make either a strength check or a religion check to get the weapon out, and there you go, you're gonna have the full Arluve. Okay, and as far as the offhand, I went with my go-to offhand, the Darkfire Shortbow, mainly because I want a resistance in fire damage and cold damage, because this is our tank character. Okay, now let's go over. Oh, you can get this off of Last Light Inn, off of Damon. Okay, in Act 2. Alright, so for the helmet, Helm of Baldurin, probably the best helmet, any tank character. Okay, this has so many good lines. The helmet heals you for 2 points at the beginning of every turn. And why that's important is because if somehow this tanky character with a lot of HP and with a lot of AC goes down to 0 HP, at the beginning of its very next turn, it will stabilize and heal for 2 HP. That's why this line is so crazy. And of course, it gives a +1 bonus to our AC and saving throws, and we can't be stunned, and we can't be critted against. So again, this helmet just has so many good lines for a tank character. This is definitely the best in the slot. But a helmet that I would use in place of this helmet is the Grimskull Helm. Which is the helmet that you get off of the Underdark Grimforge boss and the lava. Okay, you know if you know. And of course, this grants a nice stacking resistance to fire damage. The Hunter's Mark doesn't really matter, but just think of this character as the heavy armor character. So any heavy armor you find, slap the heavy armor to this character. And if you don't know where to get this Helm of Baldurin, it can be gotten off of the Dragon and Sur, underneath the Worms Rock Fortress. If you don't know how to get there, just Google it, but you can get it off of that level 17 dragon. Okay, so one of the most important items is the cloak. All right, the Mantle of the Holy Warrior. All right, and this comes with Crusader's Mantle, which is why we don't have to pick it in our Magical Secrets package for our Bard. All right, and Crusader's Mantle gives a nice little aura, a pretty big aura, that gives our teammates 1 to 4 radiant damage extra. So now, with Falar Alluve and with our cloak, we grant them extra thunder damage and extra radiant damage, and this shit stacks on top of whatever buffs they have on their own. So again, super good, super buffs, and you can get this off of Stormshire Tabernacle. Okay, the main NPCs in there isn't marked as a trader, but they are a trader. Okay, and you want to buy this cloak off of them. All right. And before you can get this, you can easily use the Cloak of Protection, which is a nice tank cloak, but this is easily the best in slot as it comes with Crusader's Mantle. Oh, and by the way, this gets refreshed off of a short rest, so feel free to spam this whenever you fight enemies. Okay. For the chest, we are obviously going to use the Helldusk armor. It is the armor with the highest AC in the game. We want to make sure this character is as tanky as possible, so this is obviously the armor that we're going to use. And of course, when you succeed a saving throw, the caster receives burning. Nice. You have resistance to fire damage and cannot be burned, and you take 3 less damage from all sources. All right, and of course it comes with fly, which doesn't really matter because you should be partial illithid anyway, but just in case you don't, there it is. All right, and you can get this off of Raphael's dead body after you defeat him in the House of Hope. And an alternative that you can use before getting this is the same Grimforge boss. You can use, I don't have it in here because it weighs like 20 pounds, but you can use the Grimforge heavy armor with the heavy mold. It is right there. No, it is right there. Adamantine splint armor. All incoming damage is reduced by 2, and when a melee attack hits you, the attacker is sent reeling, which is a nice debuff to their attack rolls. And of course, they can't land critical hits on you. You can use this. You can use pretty much this and the Grimskull Helm to beat the whole game, but obviously the best in slot is Helldusk. But don't worry, before the Helldusk armor, you can get this Adamantine splint armor all the way in Act 1 in the Grimforge. Okay. All right, next. The gloves, the reviving hands. When you heal a creature, it gains the effect of Blade Ward. When you revive a creature, it gains the effect of Death Ward. All right, and of course, it comes with Revivify, so you don't have to choose it as a spell. But you can just revive enemies you can revive companions with withers anyway in the game, so having Revivify doesn't really matter. But these are really, really nice gloves because, like I said, now every time we cast Mass Healing Word, we not only bless our companions with our ring here, but we also give them Blade Ward, which gives them resistance to physical damage. So it's really, really nice. Okay, and you can get this off of the same vendor that you get Mantle of the Holy Warrior from. So early in Act 3, you can have this character become truly online once you go to that vendor and pick up these two super good items, okay? But don't worry, before you get to Act 3, you can use some other gloves instead called, what are they called? They're called Hellrider's Pride, okay? Which is the same thing, except it doesn't come with the Death Ward or it doesn't come with Revivify, alright? And you can get these Hellrider's Pride from the Kaga quest, okay? Or you can knock out Zevlor and take it from his person by pickpocketing him. But, you know, if you're a good lad like I am, you'll just finish the Kaga quest, which is pretty much outing Kaga. Alright, because she is part of the Shadow Druids. If you don't know how to do that quest, just Google it somehow. But you want to out Kaga, you want to do that Kaga quest and get these Hellrider's Pride gloves before you can get these rubbing hand gloves in Act 3, okay? Alright, so for the boots, there are plenty of options for the boots, but I seriously think the best option are the boots of striding. Mainly because of the second line where it says, while you are concentrating, you cannot be knocked prone, okay? And prone, your concentration saving checks might be really high and you may have advantage with them, but if you are knocked prone, your concentration goes out the window. Alright, so it is very important to not be knocked prone, so that's why I think these boots are super good. And you can get these very early off of Minthara, I believe. You get this off of Minthara, put these on, wear them for the rest of the game. Alright, and that's the boots that I would wear for this type of character, okay? For our amulet, I chose the Amulet of Greater Health because this means I don't have to pick the feat Warcaster, and this allows me to get my charisma all the way to 20 because of this amulet. And of course, this makes our constitution super high, giving us a lot of HP, and gives us advantage on our concentration checks with our constitution saving throws. So this is easily best in slot for this build. Before this, you can choose to, you can choose to get the Warcaster feat and then simply respec. Also, once you get this amulet, you can respec out of your constitution and dump it to get higher dex or higher wisdom for those checks or higher intelligence, whatever you want really. But this amulet is easily the best in slot. But before this amulet, you can either, there are a few choices here. I chose to use Amulet of Restoration because it came with a free healing word and a free mass healing word, saving me spell slots. But you can also use the Periapt of Wound Closure, which maximizes the number of hit points restored only to you, but more importantly, when downed, you can stabilize at the end of the turn, alright? So you can either use this, Amulet of Restoration, or Periapt of Wound Closure, and it's up to you really. But once you get to Act 3 and once you get to House of Hope and you steal Raphael's items, this is definitely the best item that I would choose for this build, okay? As far as the rings go, the first ring I would use is the Ring of Protection, one of the best rings in the game. And of course, you can get this in Act 1, which works really well for you because if you do complete the Kaga quest and get the Hellrider's Pride gloves, alright, completing the Kaga quest, I would recommend doing that, not only because of these gloves, but because it makes it a lot easier to steal the idol. Because once you out Kaga, all the other druids are going to stop praising the idol in the middle of the grove. You see how when you first enter the grove, they all have their hands up and are like doing some shit to the idol. As soon as you finish the Kaga quest, they will stop praising it and they will just be like, oh, fuck this idol. Okay? And it makes it a lot easier to steal. Now, how to steal the idol, I'm not going to tell you how to do that. Just Google it, but it's pretty simple. Just Fog Cloud, chest, move the idol in the chest, give it to Maul, a bing bang boom, okay? But yes, the best in slot for this for this build is definitely the Ring of Protection because it is our tank. That +1 AC and +1 saving throw is super good to have, okay? And the last item This might be the most important item, okay? And you can get this really early as well. The Whispering Promise. When you heal a creature, it gains a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws for 2 turns. Basically, you cast Bless, alright? And you can get this off of Valo. So as soon as you enter the Grove, you're going to talk to Valo, and on the bottom left of the screen, you're going to see a trade option. Alright? You're going to do that and buy this ring, or you can pickpocket him, or you can have him go to the goblin camp and the goblins will take it off his body and you can buy it in their shop. But I'd recommend getting it as soon as possible because it might get lost in translation. So I recommend either pickpocketing it or trading off of Valo right when you get to the Emerald Grove early game, when you're like level 2 or 3, okay? But yeah, this is obviously our best in slot. So again, every time we cast Mass Healing Word, we are healing our allies for a good amount because of our high charisma, okay? We are giving them Bless with Whispering Promise, and we are giving them Blade Ward. So with one click, with one spell, and with a couple items, I mean, this already makes this character the best support character in the game. All right, and that is obviously the first turn after every combat. Our first turn is all that plus Crusader's Mantle. So we're making our allies hit more often, hit harder, and more tanky at the same time in one turn. All right. Again, this character deals 0 damage. But it is easily the most important character to have in the party. All right, I have a dual crossbow user that does all the damage. I have a throw barbarian that does all the damage. And I have a sorcerer that does most of the damage. But if I didn't have this bard character, it would make the game so much harder. Because now I know I can pass all the social checks. Any ability checks I can pass, no matter what. Whether it be charisma, or whether we have to use enhance ability to help our teammates pass those checks. Right here, okay? It has all the heals, it has all the buffs, it has all the utility, it has all the movement. Like seriously, having this character makes your life so much easier when you're playing Baldur's Gate 3. Alright? And there you have it, y'all. My ultimate support build, fully updated and ready to take out into the battlefield. Trust me, it is a very good character to have in your party. So the Fire Sorcerer build that I made a couple days back, and this build, there is one more build that I want to show you guys, and those 4 builds are basically the best team comp to have to be able to beat Baldur's Gate 3 on any difficulty with the easiest of time, okay? So I have to show you guys one more build, and that is the dual crossbow build, which this guy is, my Astarion, okay? It is a dual crossbow build that does such good damage, okay? And is also your sleight of hand / stealth character. All right, Ranger, Rogue, Fighter. I'm going to show that. It is very similar to my dual hand crossbow bard build that I showed you guys, but this Ranger build, although it does slightly less damage, it is definitely better to play throughout the game because it comes with the Ranger spells like Hunter's Mark and Spike Growth. But again, that's going to be the next video build guide. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Trust me, having this support character is super nice to have. Social checks, utility, buffs, anything you need throughout the game, heals, this character will have it. And of course, you can combine it with more of your playstyle. If you want to make this character be more control based, choose more control spells. If you want to make this character be more summoner based, choose more summoner spells. All right. As you can see here, I have the Dance Macabre, which summons 4 ghouls, which is what the Necromancy of Ty gives, by the way. And you can have it do that instead. There are so many ways you can play this character, but for me, I chose full support, full heals, full utility, and it is easily the best character in my party. It does 0 damage, but it does everything else. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I truly appreciate it. I've been loving all the feedback that I've been getting on my videos. You know, you guys are definitely being as active as you can, and I really do appreciate that. It makes me want to do these kind of videos more and more often. Again, there are a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 builds that I still want to show you guys. There's still some more content that I want to show you guys. And yeah, this game is awesome. And if it doesn't win Game of the Year, I'm going to riot. I don't know about you, but it should win a Game of the Year. But also, I'm trying to find a new game to play. So if there's any game ideas you want to pass on to me, feel free. Other than that, Thank y'all so much for watching. I truly do appreciate it. If you have the time, if you have 5-10 seconds of your time, okay, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. All that works towards the YouTube algorithm. It really does help. It really, really does. All right. With that being said, y'all have a good one. I'm out of here, and I'll see y'all on the next Baldur's Gate 3 video build guide. All right. Peace.